So most people are grinding away with fat loss strategies that barely move the needle. Meanwhile, they're completely ignoring the underrated methods that actually get results, and more importantly, help you keep the fat off for good. So today I'm going to cover the most overrated versus the most underrated fat loss strategies, and at least 3 of these will completely blow your mind. So the first overrated fat loss strategy is eating clean. People treat eating clean like the holy grail of fat loss. Chicken, broccoli, rice, no sauces, no flexibility, no life. But here's the truth. Eating clean isn't a strategy, it's a concept, and everyone defines it differently. These days, healthy can mean anything, from protein bars to burrito bowls, and just because a food is less processed doesn't mean it's lower in calories, and that's what drives fat loss. Calorie control. Think about it. A handful of clean cashews can be over 200 calories, more than a chocolate bar. And which one do you think people overeat more? So the term clean eating doesn't really suggest that you're going to lose fat. Now what's underrated is eating for adherence. Want results? Then stick to what you can do consistently. 80% whole foods plus 20% enjoyable foods that you actually like equals sustainable progress. It's about being in an overall calorie deficit over weeks and months, with some days or weeks being at maintenance, but majority of the time you should be in an overall calorie deficit. Overrated strategy number 2, fasted cardio. A lot of people believe fasted cardio will help them to burn more fat. And yes, technically during the workout, you do burn a little bit more fat. Here's the kicker, that doesn't translate to more fat loss over time. You see, your body balances things out. So if you burn more fat now, you'll burn more carbs later. It all comes back to energy balance. And when you train fasted, you're usually weaker, you have less energy, and you end up burning fewer calories in total. Less intensity equals less total burn equals less fat loss. Now what's underrated is fueling your workouts properly. If you want better fat loss results, then you need to eat before you train. Fuel your body so you have more energy, so you can train at a higher intensity, and therefore you can burn more calories. Forget this short-term mindset of burning fat fasted. Instead, think long-term performance. So build more muscle, push harder, and recover better. Remember, muscle is your secret weapon to staying lean, and you don't build it running on an empty stomach. Overrated fat loss strategy number 3, intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is hyped like it's some sort of fat loss magic trick. While yes, it can help you eat less calories, but that's only if it works for you. But for some, it backfires hard. So one of my clients, before he started working with me, he used to fast until 4 p.m. And then after that, he just used to binge eat till midnight. Why? Because he was starving and his cravings took over. So instead of thinking he was eating less, he actually ate more, and therefore he actually gained weight instead of lost it. Intermittent fasting is just a tool. It's not a miracle. It can help you to lose some fat, but it can also do the opposite. Now what's actually underrated is having a high satiety, high volume breakfast. Now intermittent fasting is usually done by skipping breakfast, and that's why people say, breakfast isn't good for you, so you should skip it. But in fact, a solid breakfast can kill your cravings and help set you up nicely for the rest of the day. Now, I'm not talking about sugary cereals or donuts because, yes, that will actually make it worse. I'm talking about nutrient-dense, high-volume foods that will keep you feeling full. Eggs, fruits, oats, Greek yogurt, foods that will fuel your performance, fuel your brain, and fuel your body. Overrated strategy number 4 is that you need to confuse your muscles to burn more fat. Muscle confusion is just a myth that refuses to die. People think that they need to change their workouts, change their exercises constantly in order to build more muscle and lose more fat. But in fact, this kills progressive overload, the one thing that actually builds muscle. Soreness does not equal effectiveness, and novelty does not equal results. People need to get this out of their heads because it's actually just holding them back from building more muscle and losing more fat. Now, what's underrated is repeating the same plan for months. You build muscle and burn fat by becoming stronger at the basics. So pick 6 to 8 core exercises, get better at them week by week, improve your form, add weight, and add reps. And that's progressive overload, and that's how you build more muscle over time. And remember, muscle is more metabolically active than fat, so the more you have, the easier fat loss becomes. So you don't need variety, you just need progress. And here's a quick thought. Fat loss doesn't come with chasing trends. It comes with doing the boring stuff well and consistently. So just skip the fads and just master the fundamentals. Overrated strategy number 5. Being in a constant deficit. Most people treat fat loss like a punishment. They go all in, drop calories right to the floor, and grind it out for 12, 16, or even 20 weeks straight, thinking that if I just push harder, I'll get leaner faster. But that isn't exactly how it works. Your body isn't a machine, it's an adaptive organism. So the longer you diet, then your body starts trying to slow things down. So what ends up happening? Your metabolic rate drops, your NEAT goes down, hunger hormones like ghrelin increase, satiety hormones like leptin decrease, energy levels crash, and your mood and your sleep take a hit. And at this point, staying in a calorie deficit actually becomes less effective. Now, what's underrated is strategic diet breaks. So instead of grinding endlessly, smart dieters use a secret weapon. That's planned 3 to 7 days diet breaks at maintenance calories. Not cheat days, not binges, but structured, controlled maintenance phases. And doing this helps restore hormonal balance, helps replenish glycogen for better training, gives your body and brain a psychological reset, and makes it easier for you to stick to the next deficit phase. So it's like trying to sprint a marathon. You just gas out halfway. But if you strategically pace yourself, adding walk breaks, then you'll actually go further faster with less damage. Now, it's the same with fat loss. Breaks don't stall progress, they preserve it. And here's a tip. Treat your fat loss like a training block. So 6 to 8 weeks in a deficit, 1 week at maintenance, and then repeat. And this will give you time to recover while trending down. And more importantly, it just gives your brain and your body a small break, so then you can continue with the dieting phase and continue to get lean and stay lean. It protects your muscle and your mental health, which is the key to looking and feeling lean. Overrated number 6, obsessing over the scale. Now, we all do this. If the scale goes down, we feel successful. But if it goes up, then what happens? We panic, we self-sabotage, and we think that it's not working. But here's the thing, the scale lies pretty much every day. You could be doing everything perfectly for 3 days straight and the scale still goes up. And why? Because it's not just measuring fat. It also reflects water retention and glycogen storage, hormonal fluctuations, digestive residue, and muscle damage from workouts. The scale is a tool, but it's a lagging indicator, not an immediate feedback system. Now, what's underrated is weekly weight averages and body recomp indicators. Instead of obsessing over one number, use smarter tracking strategies. So track 7-day averages. Weigh yourself every morning under the same conditions. So generally after going to the bathroom. Then take the weekly average. And this smooths out daily noise and gives you a clearer picture. For example, week 1 average 81.2 kilograms, week 2 average 80.7 kilograms. And that's progress. Also, use something I like to call non-scale victories. The mirror doesn't lie, so photos, clothing fit, energy, and strength all show progress the scale can't. So take progress photos, take tape measurements, see how clothes fit, and track lifting performance. And these are the real indicators of fat loss and body recomposition, not just a number on the floor. Overrated strategy number 7. Cutting out entire food groups. Cutting out certain food groups might feel effective short term because you're simply reducing calories, but it's not sustainable and it's not teaching you how to manage your food environment long term. And worst of all, it creates fear-based eating. And you may believe things like bread makes you fat, or fruit spikes insulin and ruins your fat loss, or having one cookie will ruin your entire week. And ultimately, this creates things like disordered eating, binge restrict cycles, guilty around food, and a bad relationship with your diet. Now, what's underrated is food education and portion awareness. Instead of cutting out foods completely, learn how to use them intelligently. And this is what smart fat loss looks like. You understand how many calories you need to hit, you build 80% of your diet with whole nutrient-dense foods, and you use the remaining 20% for flexibility. So your favorite foods that you enjoy in moderation. And remember, if you can't keep the results, then the plan didn't work. Fat loss isn't just about getting lean, but it's about staying lean without obsession. That's only possible when your diet is built around your real life, not just a list of banned foods. Overrated strategy number 8. More willpower equals more results. Most people think that the key to fat loss is just more willpower. So I need to try harder. I need more discipline. I need to have more self-control over foods. But willpower is like a phone battery. It drains throughout the day. And when it's low, you're vulnerable. So after a long work day, after a bad night's sleep, or when you're just stressed and distracted, and that's when you just say screw it and dive head first into the snack drawer. Now, what's underrated is environment design. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. This is one of the most underrated fat loss hacks, and nobody really talks about it. And examples of smart environment design include: don't keep binge foods in the house. If it's not there, it's not a problem. Meal prep on Sundays so your future self has healthy food ready to go. Use smaller plates to reduce automatic portion sizes. Set a consistent eating schedule to avoid decision fatigue. Keep water within arm's reach at all times. Hide trigger foods in hard to reach places or don't buy them at all. Place high protein snacks front and center in the fridge. Think about it. You don't rely on willpower to brush your teeth. It's a system. And you don't think about grabbing your phone in the morning. It's your default. Your food choices should feel the same. Overrated strategy number 9. Fat burners. Fat burners are one of the biggest scams in the fitness industry. They're marketed with shredded models, aggressive labels like extreme thermogenic, but most fat burners are just overpriced caffeine pills, and their effect on fat loss is minimal at best. It might raise your metabolic rate by 50 to 100 calories per day, but that's the equivalent of just a 10-minute walk. And the side effects: jitters, anxiety, sleep issues, and digestive upset. Relying on fat burners gives you a false sense of progress, distracts you from the fundamentals, and actually increases cortisol and leads to poor sleep, and that actually hinders fat loss. You think you're doing more, but really you're just avoiding the work that actually matters, which is eating a consistent calorie deficit, training consistently, and managing your stress, sleep, and recovery. Now, what's underrated is sleep and stress management. Sleep and stress management is super underrated and is one of the keys to faster fat loss. You see, poor sleep is a fat loss killer. Less than 6 hours of sleep, it reduces leptin and increases ghrelin. Your cravings increase, especially for carbs and sugar. Your insulin sensitivity decreases, making it harder to store carbs efficiently, and your energy plummets, so you move less and burn fewer calories. And when it comes to increased stress levels, that's also very bad. Higher cortisol, so more water retention, more emotional eating and decision fatigue, and hormonal disruption, so impaired fat loss and muscle retention. So in reality, you don't need a fat burner. You need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, you need a consistent wind down routine, and you need a stress outlet. And these boring strategies beat every supplement on the market. Finally, overrated strategy number 10, focusing only on fat loss. Most people enter a fat loss phase thinking it's all about losing fat. You know, they obsess about cutting calories, they do more cardio, and they do everything it takes to get the weight to drop as fast as possible. But the people who look the best at lower body fat levels didn't just lose fat, they focused on building muscle as well. Chasing fat loss without prioritizing muscle is like peeling a wrapper off of an unfinished sculpture. You get lean, but you look flat, soft, or skinny fat. Your metabolism is slower, and you need to keep cutting calories in order to maintain. Fat loss without building muscle or maintaining muscle is just shrinking. Now, what's really underrated is building muscle as a long-term fat loss strategy. So want to stay lean and look athletic? Then start training with the intent of building muscle, even while losing fat. So start prioritizing resistance training over endless cardio. Make sure to get at least 1 gram of protein in per pound of body weight, and sleep and recover well. Instead of asking yourself, how fast can I lose 10 pounds? Instead, ask yourself, how can I look like I lift at 12% body fat? And the answer isn't another fat burner or bigger deficit. It's years of lifting, eating to support muscle growth, and strategically cutting fat when needed. So that's it, guys. And as you can see, the most popular fat loss strategies are often the least effective, and the most boring, overlooked things like walking more, sleeping better, weight training consistently, managing your stress, and having a diet that works for you, these are the real tools that will help you to get to 10 to 15% body fat and let you stay there. So hope this video helps. Comment down below, what's the most overrated fat loss strategy that you used to believe? And if this video helped you cut through the noise, then don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe down to my channel for more real fat loss advice. And if you want to get to 10% body fat, then here are the 10 habits I quit that helped me get there.